All right, y'all. Today we're gonna look at this boudoir photography business, see if they have BSS with their local or their city Google search here in Vacaville, California. So we're here in the GBC universe. We're taking declining boudoir photographers to the #1 boudoir photographer in their city. As always, our North Star is FSIC, full spectrum intent capture. More on that, pinned video, pinned profile, pinned post, whatever. That's because FSIC explains why all boudoir photographers either rise or fall. So if we're bringing in people from the entire intent ladder, highest intent on the left to lowest intent on the right, boudoir photographer business is rising. And if we're not doing that, boudoir photographer business is falling. Pretty simple. Over on the left here, we talk about BSS. So the videos here, it's the highest intent peeps. People search for boudoir photo shoots on Google, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. So highest intent search, closest to the money. We want to dominate that first. And over at the end, BLCS, that's our other brand, Boudoir FB Ad Doctor, where right now we only work with boudoir photographers running more than 10 grand a month in boudoir Facebook ads. So that's some other profiles out there in the universe. So BSS is boudoir search sameness. That's when a boudoir photographer has 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google. So if we got 0 slots on page 1, we're hurting, we're screwed. Because I mean, we're on page 2 or 3 or somewhere later. And we also know that approximately 80% of Google searches never go to page 2. They're page 1 only, they stay on page 1. So this is the bulk of people searching. The bulk of searchers, approximately 80% of all searches. So we actually want to cater this approximately 80% bulk. This is the bulk of the market. We don't care about the 20% that go to page 10. We don't care. Let's be the best in the universe at capturing these 80% that stay on page 1. So 0 slots, bad. 1 slot is bad because then, dude, we're looking the same as everyone else. We're, if we got 9 other competing boudoir photographers on our, on page 1, okay, they got 9, buyers are just clicking down, going down every, clicking every link open on, sending a message to every single person, getting a quote from everyone. And we're not standing out at all. They probably don't even reckon, they don't even remember our name. They're just clicking through all 10, us and 9 other competing boudoir photographers. So this is a diagnosis. It's the most common diagnosis actually I've seen with across all boudoir photography businesses. Also, 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google is not normal. It's not normal to have that small number of slots on Google. This is actually the symptom of 2 deeper root causes. These 2 deeper root causes are market saturation, which basically everyone knows about, and the false belief of page 1 equality, which basically nobody knows about. So market saturation, obviously, more boudoir photographers entering the market seemingly every week. Every time anyone gets a new iPhone, they're sending out their Google My Business profile saying they now shoot boudoir, or they're, saying, they got their website, they're competing for page 1, maybe even giving on page 1, and kicking us off. Or they're getting a new camera, and now they're posting in the mom Facebook groups saying they also shoot boudoir. So more and more boudoir photographers are always entering the market. That's never going to change. And so that's market saturation. Everyone's used to that. COVID had a massive blast of that. People needed to earn income, couldn't work, and now actually needed to became boudoir photographers. So massive glut of boudoir photographers entered the market. The one that almost nobody knows about is the false belief of page 1 equality. So page 1 equality is basically assuming, everyone, everyone gets either 0 or 1 slots page 1 of Google. More photographers come in, they might kick me off page 1. Now I got 1 slot on page 2, but that's how it is. It is what it is. It is how it is. And hopefully maybe I get back, someone leaves, someone shuts out their website, I go back to page 1, or maybe I go on to page 3 eventually. And it's just kind of something people accepted. But this is a false belief. And I know that because I went from 0 out of 10 slots on page 1 to 9 out of 10 slots on page 1 of Google in 10 days. So I know Google will give us as many slots on page 1 as we want to put in the effort to acquire. And so I feel like most people there's never been a word for this. the false belief, well, for page one equality, people just kind of, there's never been a word to describe it. So I feel like people haven't really thought about whether they believe in it yes or believe in it no. But people's actions have told me it seems like people just have accepted it, right? Because they've never, I don't know, had explicitly a word to say, oh, do I believe in that or not? So, and also this false belief of page one equality has been the #1 killer of boudoir photography businesses that I've ever seen. You'll get relegated to page two, they disappear. They're, pretty quickly after their business disappears because referrals only last for so long. You can only spend so much ad money. CAC, customer acquisition cost, always goes up over time. It's the new people that have never heard about us yet that always, always, always sustain a business. We also know that a boudoir photographer with BSS is a disappearing boudoir photographer. Dude, because we're from page two, we already know approximately 80% of Google searches never hit in page two. So we're disappearing, and pretty fast after that, our business will be disappearing as well from existence. And if we got one slot on page one, well, that's the scariest number on page one because we are one person could kick us off to page two if they take our slot. And also, we look the same as the other 9. If there's other 9 slots or 9 boudoir photographers, we look the same. Nothing special. They're clicking through all the links, contacting everyone, price shopping everyone. And so it's like 0 or 1, most likely disappearing. For 0 1 both, local and city search. So we got our universe building up here. Disappearing boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness is caused by the 2 horns of market saturation and the false belief of page one equality. But luckily, BSS, boudoir search sameness, is treated with social search saturation. It's our SQ's methodology. It's our proprietary solution we've created. And been mastering it, building it over about the last 7 months. And ready to bring it to market. And with SQ's methodology, we can actually take it as many page one Google slots as we actually want for whichever keywords we want. Instead of Google PPC, you get 1 extra text ad. Okay, who cares? Dude, we want to hit the GBC minimum of 3 out of 10 organic slots and up, 4, 5, 6, 7. And this SQ'd methodology, it's social search saturation. So we saturate social search first. And then once we saturate social search, Google recognizes that and it flows to us saturating page one of Google search. So page one Google search is actually the byproduct of saturating social search. And this is actually this is the only thing I've seen that actually is able to successfully fight back against market saturation. So imagine we're in Topeka, Kansas, where one boudoir photographer we got. There's 1 million total boudoir photographers competing in this city. Everyone's got their own website. Everyone's ranking or trying to rank page one on Google. But we crank SQ's methodology to the max. When we crank SQ's methodology to the max, let's say we saturate social search, the first 300 slots for the highest intent keywords across all social platforms. And also, as a result, we capture the first 300 slots organic per Google. Well, there's 10 organic slots per page on Google, so that's literally the first 30 pages that we saturate. So when anyone ever looks for a boudoir photographer in our city, anywhere they look, they search on social or they search on Google, we're basically the only one that they can find, even though there are literally 999,999 other boudoir photographers. And so whose business is growing? Ours, even though our market saturation has never been higher. And our business has never been growing faster because we captured so much, search intent or so many search slots. And so again, this is the only solution that I've seen that is able to successfully fight back against market saturation. Obviously, more market saturation, the more you got to crank the SQ'd methodology. But at least we finally got something. Finally got something that gives us some hope. Now, once our BSS is treated with SQ'd methodology, we have page one visibility. So we kind of escape market saturation and the false belief of page one equality, and we achieve page one visibility. Now, a bonus of this is we're kicking competing boudoir photographers off page one, effectively making them invisible. So yeah, dude, every new slot we take on page one on Google, we're kicking a boudoir photographer out of there, relegating them to page two or deeper. And we already know approximately 80% of Google searches never go to page two. That's literally 80%, the bulk of the market. It's never going to see them on Google. And same if we do, across all social search platforms. So this is a bonus of doing the using the S-cubed methodology, kind of reducing the amount of boudoir photographers we're being price shopped against, or buyers even know exist. Now, page one visibility activates boudoir search visibility for us. So we're no longer at 0 slots on page one or 1 slot on page one. Technically, we can do it with two slots on page one, but we won't get to the GBC minimum of 3 out of 10 for local search and city search. Now, boudoir search visibility, if we can get to 3, that's kind of our big hump we want to get over, because we're definitely going to stand out more than all the other boudoir photographers that have 1 slot on page one on Google. And there'll be times when another boudoir photographer will have 2 slots on Google, page one on Google. But if we got 3, I mean, we're dwarfing everyone. So we finally achieved it activates boudoir search visibility for us. And a boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility is a visible boudoir photographer. So this is our universe. We got, disappearing boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness is caused by the 2 horns of market saturation and the false belief of page one equality. That's fine. We got a solution now. S-cubed methodology. And we achieve page one visibility. So we overcome market saturation and the false belief of page one equality. To achieve page one visibility, become visible boudoir photographers with boudoir search visibility. So I'm going to look at me using a S-cubed methodology here. I want to rank for the term BLCS boudoir. And come down to organic. Got Instagram slot 1, me. Slot 2, me. Slot 3, me. Slot 4, me. Slot 5, me. Slot 6, me. Slot 7, me. Slot 8, me. Slot 10, me. So in 10 days, I went from 0 out of 10 slots, page one on Google, to 9 out of 10 slots, page one on Google. And again, this is the only solution I've ever seen that can successfully outcompete market saturation. And it has its own, has its own momentum to it. Where ads, if you stop spending to them, momentum instantly drops to 0. That's on Google and on Facebook. So now main event here, we're going to look at this boudoir photographer of Vacaville, California. Might have to copy this, bring it over if I don't have the tab up. So we're going to see if this boudoir photography business has BSS for their local and city search. Actually, their local and city search is actually the same in this case. All right. There's a Vacaville. All right, so going down to the organic. Nope. 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 There we go. We got one. And let's see. Nope. 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 All right, so we got 1 out of 10. So, in Vacaville, where is this place? Stockton. Okay, yeah, it looks like it's between San Fran and Sacramento. All right, so we got 1 out of 10 slots for Vacaville, California. So yes, we do have BSS, or this boudoir photography business does have BSS, boudoir search sameness. And we have not met the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 page one slots on Google. And that's recommended because, dude, if we're 3 out of 10 local and 3 out of 10 local search, 3 out of 10 city search, page one, we can basically guarantee we're not disappearing. We're either treading water or we're growing, most likely growing. That's why we want to hit 3 out of 10. So if you're a disappearing boudoir photographer, you've done your local search, you've done your city search, and you actually see, you've got BSS for either or both of them, or you're not meeting GBC minimum, recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 page one Google slots for either or both of them. And you're like, all right, you realize you got BSS, you understand page one equality, there's a false belief, and you're like, all right, I broke through that. I need to achieve, I need to get as many page one Google slots as possible. And you also understand the market saturation with, the new iPhones, more boudoir photographers coming in, new cameras, more boudoir photographers coming in. But you're also looking ahead and you're saying, man, AI is taking a ton of people's jobs. Last time a bunch of people lost their job, COVID, a huge tsunami of boudoir photographers coming in. So you've actually decided, hey, you got to fortify your life right now and actually get as many page one slots on Google, which is only a downflow of getting as many page one slots on social search for all the social network searches. It's downstream of that. Before all these boudoir photographers come into the market, come into the city, and start making their websites, ranking, competing for page one, kind of like prepare, kind of like the levees in New Orleans, since the city is below sea level, kind of like build those levees up to prevent floodwaters or the flood of boudoir photographers from taking your market share. And you're seeing, okay, SQ'd methodology is the only solution that can get me there effectively. And you want to achieve page one visibility, hit the GBC minimum, recommended minimum of 3 out of 10. Become a visible boudoir photographer, have boudoir search visibility, because you know you need this on your way to become the #1 boudoir photographer in your city. And you also know that you actually, there's actually hidden back-end benefits of doing this SQ methodology as well, we have not talked about yet. First one would be in we're building thematic keyword columns around our brand name, our social handles, our website, and all that. As we do SQ methodology more and more, it increases the probability we get actually recommended for AI overviews. Here at the top, premium placement, only one slot for local search and city search. And you also want the back-end benefits of every time we execute another day we execute SQ methodology, increasing the probability we get recommended through all the AI search engines, ChatGPT search, Claude search, Perplexity search, Microsoft Copilot search, Google Gemini search. These all run on, thematic keyword clusters, authority, age. And so every day we execute the SQ methodology, we're increasing that, probably getting recommended there. And we know more, literally, Google still has, I believe, like 89 or 90% of global search share. But due to AI search, using more and more, eating into Google every single day. I haven't used standard Google search in literally like a year to actually click websites and open and read stuff. I've always been using the Google AI mode. And so you want these backend benefits. You also decide you want to be the first mover in your city, because you recognize, my current plan is to only work with one person per city on this. So you kind of want to box out your competitors and kind of achieve all this front end results. Hit the GBC minimum 3 out of 10 on page one, kick out competitors off page one, effectively make them invisible to approximately 80% of searchers who never go to page two. And build these momentum on the back end, which is higher probability AI overview, higher probability being recommended AI search, and higher probability nobody in your city ever catches you. Putting more distance between you and them, by building up this thematic keyword columns attached to your brand for the backend for AI search engines to be recommending into the future. Because I know last time I used Google or ChatGPT to search for boudoir photographers in a city, dude, it only gave me 3. I'm like, what? There's like 60 in this city. It literally only displayed 3. So we want a higher chance of being those 3. And you also know if someone else in your city jumps on this first, they lock you out, well, you're gonna have to derive or figure out SQ methodology on your own. And then you have to go execute it, but you won't be confident executing it because you don't know if you even derived it correctly to use it correctly. And then you'd have to equal our output with your competitor to just maintain the gap. You'd have to actually exceed our output with your competitor for us, to actually make up ground on us and kind of take back the momentum that we're building in the back-end AI search and the front-end results we get kicking you off page one of Google. So you've decided, screw that. I'd rather be the first mover in my city, give myself the highest chance of blocking out all the boudoir photographers coming from AI. They're going to be forced losing their jobs, but people still got to earn money. And you decide SQ methodology is the solution you want, the path you want to take. So shoot me a DM. Not right now. My DMs are full, or my DMs are closed. The hospital is We're not taking any new patients right now, but